Hello, welcome to the BRE-SPAD applicant video series. This is the overview of application information video. My name is Sadella Blatch Alexander. I'm a program director or program officer at the National Institute of General Medical Sciences, or NIGMS. NIGMS is the lead institute for NIH's BRE-SPAD program. BRE-SPAD is Biomedical Research Environment and Sponsored Programs Administration Development Program. As I mentioned, this is the overview of application information video. There are other videos in this series that cover different content that may be of interest to you. I'll start with a disclaimer that this series and any accompanying slides or notes are for informational purposes only. They serve as an overview and are not meant to be comprehensive in coverage of all required components of an application. For any submission, applicants are responsible for following instructions detailed in the SF424 or application guide, the notice of funding opportunity, and any related notices. In this video, I will show you the SF424 as well as the BRE-SPAD NOFO and show you where to find notices. We have different topics for this video organized into segments. First is what I just mentioned. I'll show you how to find all the instructions you need to submit a BRE-SPAD application. The second segment will show you where you can find a list of the major BRE-SPAD application components along with required or suggested page links, which is on our website. The third segment, which will be the lengthiest segment of this video, I will walk through mostly section 4 of the BRE-SPAD NOFO, and I'm going to highlight some of the content you need for different parts of the application. Again, this is not showing you everything you need. I will show you where to find all of your instructions, but I'll just walk you through some of the major highlights. And in the last segment, I'll go over next steps. The first place to look for your application instructions is the SF424 application guide. I'll show you how to find this on the NIH webpage, but you can also access it through many different means. I'm on the grants.nih.gov website of NIH. You may want to bookmark that. You can find the application guide multiple places here, but if you click on this header at the top, grants process, really you can click any one of these different options and you'll end up getting there, but I'll choose right application. So I'll point first to the left. These are some of those other headers that we saw before: plan to apply, right application, etc. There is a lot of great information on this website, so please browse and you may find some of your other questions answered there. But under right application, here's how to apply application guide. I'm going to click there, and this brings me to the SF424 application guide. First thing I want to point out is that at the time of this video being recorded, if you look on your right, you'll see SF424 version H. There may be a subsequent version, which would be version I, and many BRE-SPAD applicants will need to apply to version I, or a subsequent version if there is a version released after version I. You'll be able to tell from looking at the notice of funding opportunity with any related notices, and I'll show you that later. And also here, it'll tell you which due dates the version applies to. Whether you apply to version I or a subsequent version of the SF424, for BRE-SPAD, there will be no major changes than what I'm going to discuss here today. There are little to no changes that affect BRE-SPAD. There are a couple very minor changes that you probably would not notice for BRE-SPAD. The biggest change would be the review criteria, but that is in the NOFO, so you're covered with that. But just make sure that you are noting that this version may be different when you submit your application. So for the instructions, you can look at them two different ways. As I said in the program overview video, if you've watched that already, BRE-SPAD uses the R set of the application guide. R stands for research instructions. BRE-SPAD is not a research grant such as an R01 or an R15, but it is a cooperative agreement. It's a U, and it is clustered. This type of cooperative agreement is clustered with the research instructions. So you can either click at the top under general instructions. You could access the HTML version web page. You could also just look at the R or K or T, whatever you're interested in. For BRE-SPAD, we're going to look at R. I'm going to click the PDF. And this just is the subset of all the SF424 instructions that are for R's only. So here we are. I like to look at the bookmarks so I can jump around, go back and forth. And I will certainly not be going through this entire document today. You have these instructions here. Now you know how to find them if you haven't read them before. So you certainly will go through those as you work on your BRE-SPAD application. I'm just going to show you a couple of things to keep in mind. First thing I'm going to do is click on R200, the SF424 R&R form. This is one of the forms that you'll need to fill out if you're applying to BRE-SPAD. You can see that it's hyperlinked in this PDF format or in the HTML format, where for each question you fill out, you can click and get more information on what that is asking you. Next, I'm going to click on the next major section, which is R210, the PHS 398 cover page supplement form. This is another form that you'll fill out for BRE-SPAD. And I'm pointing out that most of these sections won't be relevant for BRE-SPAD, but you will need to answer questions. For example, you should not be proposing directly any vertebrate animals research in this BRE-SPAD application. If you are interested in the pilot research project program, that we have another video about that to learn more about it. But in those cases, you are not proposing that research in your original application. After you get the BRE-SPAD award, you send specifics about your pilot research later. So most of this cover page supplement form, most of these sections will not apply, but you still will answer those questions. Next, I'm going to look at R220, R&R, and R&R stands for Research and Related. R&R Other Project Information Form. So, of course, it's another form that you fill out, but here you'll have some documents to upload. This time, more of these will be relevant, but some are not, sort of as we just discussed. And I want to just point to a couple things, again, as an example, since we won't be going through the entire set of instructions. I'm going to look at number 7. I'm going to click this hyperlink. This is the project summary or abstract. So you will need this. It says here that it's required. And you'll also look in the BRE-SPAD NOFO to see if there's any specific instructions there. So as mentioned in the first video, or the program overview video, which you might have watched before this one, the first place you get all your instructions are the SF424, which what we're looking at now, the application guide. There are times where the NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, may differ. Then you follow the NOFO, because the NOFO has the BRE-SPAD specific information. And you'll also look, I'll show you on the NOFO, for any notices that may correct or conflict or add to anything in the NOFO. So I'll show you that in later on. But if you don't see anything in the NOFO or a notice that discusses the project summary or abstract or whatever section you're working on, then that means you follow the SF 424 application guide. So here you can see it describes what the abstract should look like. It just says that it's 30 lines of text, and it reminds you to follow required font and margin specifications, as well as the format attachments page. So I'll just briefly click on that to show you that this is the place where, for the most part, you're going to see your specifications for things like font, file size, format, headers, footers, page limits. I can click there. It takes me down to some information about page limits. I can click there and I can find my activity code. So we're not, BRE-SPAD is a UC2, so it's not an F, it's not a K, it's not a T, but we're these R's and all other applications. So you can see here, here's your page limits, if applicable. Now again, the NOFO, the BRE-SPAD NOFO may differ. And if that's the case, you follow the NOFO. Later in this video, in the next segment, I will give you some more information about the page limits and all the required sections for BRE-SPAD. We have some information on our website about that. So I'm just clicking back to go back to the R set of instructions for the SF 424. We were on the other project information form, and we were taking a look at the abstract. You'll also have a project narrative, and all these other sections will also be included, and you'll follow these instructions here unless there's anything specific in the NOFO. Next, I'm going to skip to R400, which is the research plan form. This is sort of a bigger part of our application because you'll see some of the, I call meatier documents. You have specific aims, which you will submit. You also have the research strategy, which you also will submit. And again, most of these in the other research plan, these may not apply. All of these probably will not apply to you for BRE-SPAD. Okay, so I'll take a look at one as an example. So we'll take a look at the research strategy. So this is a big part of your application for BRE-SPAD and for many research applications at NIH. And as you can see here in the SF 424 application guide, there is some information about content, about what to put in your research strategy. It says use the instructions below unless otherwise specified in the FOA. FOA is Funding Opportunity Announcement, which was the prior term for NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity. This is a good example of where for BRE-SPAD, you are not using the content instructions for the research strategy that are in the application guide. You will use the ones in the NOFO. We have a lot more specific information for you in the BRE-SPAD NOFO, and that's where you'll find that. But definitely read this to see what any general information may be. That concludes this segment.